Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at how to use the calculator to help us do some matrix operations, to do some of the stuff that we've been talking about in some of the other videos. Just kind of a couple of calculator tidbits along the way. You'll notice that any word that's written up in yellow on my screen, up above the normal buttons, are actually going to need the second button in order to activate those. So the button that we're going to take a look at that's going to help us do anything with matrices is the fourth button down on the left side. The button says x raised to the -1, but you'll notice up in yellow written above is matrx for matrix. So let's say we just want to type in a matrix into our calculator. We're going to hit the second button and then we're going to hit that matrix button, and it's going to activate the matrix menu. Now you'll see that I have a couple of matrices already typed in here. One is a 5x5 matrix, another one is a 4x4 matrix. You might also notice that there's a dead pixelated screen, a dead pixelated line down the middle of my screen. That's unfortunate for me, a little unfortunate for this video, but that's the best I have to work with right now. So we'll just use what we have, and hopefully we'll be able to read the screen fine, and that won't cause any problems. Okay, so we want to, first of all, type in a new matrix. When it says name, notice at the top we have names, math, and edit. The names is where what we're going to be under when we want to actually use a matrix that we already have typed in. The math button actually gives us a lot of different options for operations we can do on matrices. And we'll talk about some of those things. Number one is the determinant. Some other things here we won't get into much. Let's see, but there's a lot of different things that we could do here. If you wanted to talk about row reducing, that would be option B right here. Yeah, and there's just a lot of commands there that will help us, but we'll only talk about one or two of these. To enter a new matrix into our calculator, we're going to slide all the way over to the edit command. And so when we want, let's say we want to type in a new matrix A, we're going to hit enter under the option A right there. And notice it gives us the option for what size we want our matrix to be. Right now we have it typed in as a 5x5 matrix. That seems like a little big for what we're doing for right now. Let's make it a 2x3 matrix. And so you're just hitting 2 and then enter, and then 3 and then enter. And notice it's going to change the size of the matrix for you automatically as you go. And then we're going to go one entry at a time. We're going to go from left to right in the first row, and then left to right in the second row. And if there were more rows, we would do the same way. And so we're just going to type in the numbers that we want. Maybe 2, 1, 5. Notice I'm just hitting enter after every value that I type in. 6. You could type in a -3 and a -4. So there's our 2x3 matrix. And you'll notice it doesn't exit out of the matrix. It just kind of stops at the end. Once we've typed in this matrix A, we need to actually go to quit. Now quit is up in yellow above the mode button, so we need to hit second quit. Okay, and now it looks like it just brings us back to the main screen, but if we go back to that matrix menu, second, and then that matrix button, you'll notice now that matrix A has changed from being a 5x5 matrix to being a 2x3 matrix. So this matrix A is the matrix A that we just typed in, that 2x3 matrix. All right, let's say that we want B to also be a 2x3 matrix, so we can add or subtract them together. We're going to go over to the edit screen, and we're going to go down to matrix B. And we're going to change matrix B to being a 2x3 matrix as well. Again, just type in some numbers here for your matrix B. Maybe 1, -5. Let's use some bigger numbers, 10. And notice again, we're hitting enter after every single entry. 9, -6, and 2. So there's your matrix B. Your matrix B is also a 2x3 matrix. And again, we get to the end of the matrix, it doesn't do anything, and we need to hit second quit in order to get out of that menu. Now we have matrix A and we have matrix B typed into our calculator here, so we're going to hit the second matrix button. Now let's say we want to add these two matrices together. What we're doing is we're not going to go over to the edit command anymore, because the edit command is just for when we want to define a new matrix. Now when we actually want to use operations on the matrices, we're going to use this names command. Let's do A, so hit enter, and then notice it brings you back to the main screen where you can do your normal operations. So we're going to just do A plus, the normal plus button, and then we're going to go back to the matrix command, and go down to matrix B. And so we have A plus B. Now ideally this should give us a new matrix. And as we know from our first video, the new matrix that we're going to find should also be a 2 by 3 matrix when we add two 2 by 3 matrices. Now we could also do second matrix and do matrix A minus matrix B. So there's A minus B, and you're going to get this matrix right here. Now remember, when we talked about matrix multiplication, we needed A to have the same number of columns as B had rows so that we could multiply. Now if we look at these matrices, we could think about the middle numbers. A has 3 columns and B has 2 rows. It seems like if we try to do A times B, it won't work out here. Let's try to do it. Let's see what happens. If we do A and then times B, A times B, and because we know that these two matrices aren't compatible to multiply, they don't have the same middle values, it's going to tell us that there's an error, that there's a dimension mismatch. And that's because we don't have, as we suspected, we don't have the same number of columns in A as we do in rows in B. So we need to make sure that we have the right dimensions there in order to be able to multiply these matrices together. Otherwise, we're going to get an error from our calculator. But if we have our correct matrices typed in, let's go in and change one of these. Let's change matrix B so that B is let's change it to be a 3 by 3 matrix. So if we change it to be a 3 by 3 matrix, you'll notice that another row got added. So -2, 3, and 6 as our third row. Again, we're going to do second quit. Now, if we look at our matrices, A is a 2 by 3 matrix. B is a 3 by 3 matrix. Now we should be able to multiply A times B. Okay, we still couldn't multiply B times A. Remember, multiplication with matrices is not commutative, but we should be able to do A times B because A has the same number of columns now as B has rows. So if we do A times, and then go back to matrix and find matrix B, now A times B should work and it shouldn't give us an error anymore. So there's our matrix now that we get when we multiply A times B. Alright, so our calculator can also do scalar multiplication for us. Let's go ahead and type in a new matrix and we'll see how to use this. We'll go ahead and we're going to go slide over to edit. We're going to define a new matrix C that's going to be a 2 by 3 matrix. So again, just go ahead and plug in some values here. 2, -6, -3, 9, -4, and 2. Okay, and we're going to see that we have a matrix A and a matrix C that are both 2 by 3 matrices. So ideally A and C should be able to add together, they should be able to subtract together. We could also do multiplication. We could do A times B because A is 2 by 3 and B is 3 by 3. So when we do some scalar multiplication, we could do something like 3 times A, and as you would expect, it's just going to give you 3 times A if you take all the components of A and multiply by 3. We could even get a little more fancy. We could do something like 3 times A, and since A and C add together, we could do 3 times A plus 4 times C because A and C are the same size. Okay, and if we did 3 times A, 4 times C, and added them together, we're going to get something like that. We could do 6 times C minus 2 times A, and basically do any kind of linear combination. Take any scalars with A and C and then add or subtract them, and you're going to get values here because A and C are the same size. Now if you tried to do this with A and B, let's say you tried to do 3 times A plus 4 times B, remember A and B aren't the same size, so it doesn't make any sense to add these together. So these aren't the same dimensions here. 3 times A is still going to be a 2 by 3 matrix. 4 times B is still going to be a 3 by 3 matrix. So we can't add them together, and as you would expect, we get an error. We get a dimension mismatch because A and B still aren't the same size. Okay, but our calculator will do this scalar multiplication for us in the way that we would want it to. Alright, thanks for checking out this video today. Take a look at the next one, which is going to start talking about solving matrix equations. And then after that, we're going to find some inverses of matrices.